Should be a fun one, man. Yesterday I talked about to our coaching group. We talked about the listing presentation. But we didn't we
Mm.
we didn't we didn't touch on scripts or anything. We just kind of went through it. It was a template that I gave out to everybody. Hours, right? Hours. So this I was really
Well,
looking forward to this today because 3,000 listing appointments. I was telling people
it's pretty wild.
over a 21-year span, I think I've only been, from what we were counting, just over 1,000, but 21 years.
Oh
I'm not
wow,
even close to
that's crazy.
3,000 though, man.
Well, it's all about scale, right? But I
Yeah.
think a way that I really like to frame it, because you guys talk about the listing presentation, which is the one of the big challenges, one of the big one of the key conversions, right? I like to call it that way, the key conversions. I like to talk about three key conversions. This presentation is about the first one, even getting to the appointment, right? You got to
Oh.
convert a met or an unmet lead into an appointment, the first conversion, right? The second conversion is at the listing presentation. Absolutely. And then what I like to call the third conversion is getting it pending, right? Which if you're on the buyer side or on the seller side can be its own challenge, but that's another conversation. My opinion, you should have that scripted. You should have objections rehearsed. You
Mm.
should be the pro in that conversation. But every transaction takes at least those three key conversions to make it happen. The funny thing is, though, I don't know. I'd love to get your take on this before we get started, Tristan. I find that most agents struggle with the first one, right? Like that's the one usually they get stuck with. Again, not saying that listening presentation or buyer presentation isn't important. It absolutely is. But I find that the problem for most agents isn't that they're getting shot down on all these listing appointments. Oh, Gus, I went on 10 listing appointments last month and I didn't get one listing. Not They went on one listing presentation last month and they didn't get the listing, right? So I think you got to solve it problem by problem. You got to get appointment flow to then get really good at your listing presentation, because practice makes perfect, and then get it sold, right? So I think that I like to think about it that way. Solve the first problem first, like get good at that, at setting appointments, getting in front of sellers, and then everything else is going to fall into place, because you're going to get better at your listing presentation by doing listing presentations, right? Having the right
I
tools,
agree.
having the right advice, and getting in the reps. So again, anyways, so we got everybody here. Hey everybody, how's everybody doing?
I'm doing great. I see a lot of people here. What do we got? Bradley, what's up, Bradley? Jen, Denise from New Jersey. Uh, Bradley's from Tampa. Sorry, Bradley, missed that. Caroline, what part of California? I'm in California, SoCal. Carla, Wilmington, North Carolina. And Gus, while everybody's telling, by the way, everyone's let us know what city and state and country you're from. I was rereading because our team posted up that story that you had, and I had
Oh
forgotten
yeah.
about how you ended up in Mexico. So that was so cool to reread. I was like, oh, that's
you
how it
know
happened.
it
That's right.
it was, yeah, it was a life change that I turned into an opportunity, right? Like a lot of these curveballs, if you guys are interested, we should drop a link or something, because it's lengthy, but it's one of those things where I wanted to make a life change, and I tried to run my real estate team remotely. That was my first idea. That was a disaster. Like, as you guys know, real estate is such a contact sport. It's such a belly to belly process. Running a real estate team remotely is really hard. One thing I could run was my ISA team, my personal ISA team. I was able to run remotely really, really well. And then that kind of was the starting point for
Yeah.
Power ISA, right? So now, we've got over 100 active, clients working with us right now, have served over 2,500 people since 2015. We're turning 10 years old this year. At the end of
That's
2015,
crazy.
we will be 10 years old, which is nuts. Pretty crazy, pretty crazy. So yeah, that's how it
Love
started though. It wasn't a aha moment. I think it's gonna be a great idea. It was out of
that.
desperation. Like a lot of really good ideas come, right?
That's
Your
true.
back's to the wall, failure's not an option, kind of a situation. So that's definitely a fun one. So, all right, Tristan, let's go. Let's get started. Let's get to what people are here for. If you guys want to learn how my team, ISA team, was able to set over 3,000 listing appointments, we came to the right spot, right? If you want to learn about something else, you're in the wrong spot. But this is what we're going to talk about today. So let's go ahead and let's get started. And I want to make a point, a pretty easy point to make, but I'll make it. I think it's important. Most people's businesses, most agents, their business would be transformed if they spoke to 10 potential buyers, 10 potential sellers every day. Your business would be transformed. Like you would have a completely different business. For a lot of folks, that would probably double your business if you had the opportunity to talk to buyers and sellers every day. Okay. It would just change your business. That is the starting point, right? That I want to begin this presentation. And there's many ways to do that. I'm going to talk about one specific way, but there's actually a bunch of ways to do that, right? I don't want people to leave this presentation thinking, "Oh my goodness, that's the only way." It is not the only way, right? And I love, Tristan and his coaching and his book. Well, I have my blurred background, but his book is back here that talks about the different ways you can generate great conversations with buyers and sellers, whether it's prospecting or social or database or open houses and all these things, right? There's different ways to skin that cat, but do not lose sight of the goal. Having conversations with potential buyers, potential sellers every day. If it's from your personal database, that's awesome because that is the most profitable way to generate business in real estate, right? As an individual agent and as a team. Your database, the most profitable way to generate business. Love it. Internet, the challenge with database is that it's limited. For some people, it can be only a couple hundred people, right? I would close 30 deals a year in Seattle out of a list of 200 people. So it's not small potatoes, but there's a limit to how many times you can call it, right? And I was not able to like double my database from one year to the next. It was very challenging too, right? Because you have to meet someone, you have to like them, you have to like you, etc. Right? Internet leads. Another way to very scalable on the opposite end of the scalability spectrum, internet leads, you can buy 10 a day, right? Of those a day. Or if if you're buying some of these Zillow or realtor.com, maybe one a week or whatever, right? So because they're adequately priced. This is another way to generate conversations with buyers and sellers. It's not the most profitable way. You got to really watch your numbers when you're buying internet leads, but it is one way to do it. And it's a very scalable way, okay? Because you put more money into the machine and more leads come out.
True.
Typically, okay? And then the third one is prospecting. All right. This one's distinct from the first two. One of them is it's more profitable than internet leads. You can make more money if you're prospecting based than if you're internet lead based, right? Just off the bat. And it can be more scalable. That's why I like prospecting, right? It takes a very small amount of money to get started. It just takes the reps, takes some repetition. It takes a little bit of time. But prospecting is a great way to scale and build a business and talk to buyers and sellers every day, right? When
Yep.
people think, and this presentation is about prospecting, that's what we're going to focus on. That's how we got 3,000 listing appointments. It wasn't from some Zillow leads. It was from making calls and talking to sellers, right? And the first thing people think about when they're doing FSBO and expireds, right? When talking about cold calling, prospecting, they think FSBO and expired. I mean, that's just usually where their minds go.
Yeah,
And
that's true. That's true.
100%. And Tristan, tell me, I mean, you guys on your team, I know some people do call FSBO and expires. What's the challenge with that? Why do you think more agents don't do that?
Probably because of the rejection rate. It's super high, right? Because these people are already getting calls, so they're already very apprehensive, right? It's different
100%.
than calling a database or geo prospecting.
100%, right? Because the a lot of people want those listings. I mean, if you get an expired listing, I don't in West LA, Malibu, that's gonna get some calls. It's probably gonna get some calls, right?
Yeah, that's
A
true.
desirable area, not many expireds. I've spoken to expired sellers that are getting 30 calls an hour. Okay,
Yeah.
not a day, 30 calls per hour, and it's been going on for like a day or two. Okay, and it's just nuts. It's crazy. They get hit by the tsunami, and they're not a happy camper, right? Like they just turn off their cell phone after a couple hours of that. They're just going to turn it off. Like no way. I'm peace out. I'm not going to participate in this, right? Or for sale by owner. Right, that just by definition doesn't want to work with an agent. By that's the starting point. They don't want. And I don't know if I've been the unlucky one. A lot of the FSBOs that I worked with were former real estate agents. So there's something going on there too. Like what? Yeah, that for real. Maybe I was just lucky. I made deals happen with a lot of FSBOs. I kid you not, we're former real estate agents. How
That's
did we get
crazy,
into this
man.
situation? It's crazy. It's that self-loathing. I don't know what it is. It's something like that, right? But you're right. Even though these are clearly motivated sellers, expired in FSBO, they're trying to sell. I mean, how
Yeah.
clear could that be? They want to sell their home. But you and another 150 agents are trying to get in touch with them early on, right? And
Yeah,
the rejection can get pretty extreme. Like they just don't want to talk to agents. For sell by owners, like the for sell by owners that just need the most help are only being called by agents, which is frustrating for them, right? They're mispriced. The property doesn't look great. There's a lot of things wrong. The only people calling them are real estate agents, and they're not happy about that, right?
that's
And
true.
so the these, yeah, you could. I mean, would you be happy? I want to be happy if I want to talk to buyers. I don't want to talk to agents, and they're the only ones calling because there's clearly something wrong with my listing, right? This requires a level of skill to overcome those objections, to get your foot in the door, that conversation. It's probably it is the highest converting prospecting for sure, but it also requires the highest level of skill, which is Tristan, and you've probably seen this on your team. They try it for a couple of days and like, I never want to do this again. You know, it's like, wow, this is just not, wasn't a pleasant experience, right? Because that's what that's what happens. You get kind of punched in the face a few times when you're
Oh
calling
yeah,
FSBO, and especially in Southern California, I'm sure, like even more extreme, right? So that's the
yeah.
challenge with this, right? This is why this presentation is not about expired or FSBO, right? Not about expired or FSBO. We're going to talk about something else entirely, okay? Very different. We're
All
going to
right.
talk about our old friend, Circle Prospect, also known as geofarming, also known as just listed, just sold, also known as, calling the neighborhood, right? Why are we going to talk about that? Because it is the easiest script to learn and master. Okay. How do I know that? Because this is the first script I train all of my ISAs on. All right. And for the first, I don't know, 500 people that I hired, I personally trained them on this script. Why? Not because I'm a master at it, because it was the easiest one to learn. And it was the easiest one to get results from. And it
Yeah,
was the
that's true.
easiest one to talk to sellers every single day with, right? It didn't matter what market it was, right? It almost didn't matter because not every market has a lot of expireds. And believe it or not every market has a lot of for sale by owners, right? But Trickle Prospect, you could do anywhere. Okay. Anywhere. You just need homes. Are there homes there? Okay, we can do it. Manhattan, Kansas, or South Florida, Southern California. We could do, circle prospecting. All right.
Yeah,
Easiest one. I could teach it to like kids in Mexico, right? I could
yeah,
teach that
that's
script to
true.
them and they could become productive with it, right? Which kind of wild.
You know
And it's
what?
a very
I
easy
was
to get
talking,
started.
Gus. This is funny because and we always go a little bit on offside, but it's okay. This is good.
Go for it. Go for it.
In the car today in the morning, I'm driving my daughter to school. She's in high school last year. She just got accepted to college. And she's saying, hey, in between summer, winter, what type of internship should I do? Right. And I thought, she wants to do psychology, attorney type thing. And I was like, one of the things that in interviewing all of these amazing people in lab coats and in Success Magazine, what I've noticed is that they all tell me that they wish they had learned more about sales because that's like the secret, right? Whether they're an attorney or anything. And I was like,
100%.
I think you should test out sales for a summer because it'll help you in whatever you decide to do. And I was thinking of circle
100%.
prospecting. I was like, man, she'd get burned on. Let's have her call expires. Let's have her get her license.
Imagine that,
Then
right?
have
Welcome to
teacher
sales.
teacher the
Boom.
real shit, right? Anyway,
Yeah.
that's what this reminded me of, man.
I love that. And you know what? We just read a book on within my company. We have a book club. It's from Daniel Pink. To Sell is Human. It's called. It's a
Oh,
really good
I
book.
love that
It's
book.
it's it's exactly what you just talked about, right? Saying, hey, and it has a really good term for sales. If we're in sales, oh, but I'm not in sales. I'm in legal. I'm in finance. I'm in all these other things. I'm not in sales. Well, what if we reframe the term sales? We're in the moving people business. Not moving necessarily from homes, moving them to the action we want them to take. We're in the
Yeah.
moving business, right? And I love that phrase. We are in the moving business, right? Because my company itself, we have a sales team for sure. We have account managers and we've got supervisors. Those guys, they're in the moving business. Like they have to
Yeah.
get people to move and take action, right? On whatever it is we need them to do. And that's what you're going to do. And I love that point because it doesn't matter what profession you're in, you are in the moving business, right? Whether it's your peers or your managers or the client or someone else, that those sales skills are just super, super effective. So I love that. I love you made that point. This is so I think, if this were me, door knocking, prospecting open houses, what a great way to jump in and get talking to people and get them in the
That's
moving
true.
business, right?
Fast.
I love
Boom.
that. Boom, 100%. So yeah, but that, and that's why I like a circle prospect because it's so easy to start. All you need is a script, an address. In fact, for the people joining us at home, I would so follow with us and pick an address you'd like to call around. I'll give you more details, but in the meantime, you should pick one. Okay, pick an address, a recently sold listing for you for your team, and if you
Yeah.
don't have any, an area you'd like to have a listing. So just drop a pin somewhere. Like, I'd love to have a listing in this neighborhood. Then we should start there. And I'll tell you what to do next. But you should start with that.
Okay.
Start going through the
Done.
motions of
I
figuring
already
it out,
mentally
right?
picked it. I mentally picked it. Go.
Pick, perfect, perfect. Because for me in Seattle, there was some neighborhoods I loved, right? Because there wasn't a ton of inventory available always, and it was a very desirable neighborhood, and it wasn't
Mhm.
like the $2 million price points, right? It was like a more mid price point, which means there was a lot of demand for those areas.
Yep.
Everyone knows an area like that, right? Pick that area, and you need a data dialer combo. And I'll go into more detail in a sec, but that's really all you need to get started. That's really it. And that's why I think this is such a missed opportunity for a lot of agents because it's so easy to start. All right. So, like I mentioned, when I say circle prospect, this is what I mean. Okay. Just listed, just sold, open house, we have a buyer. So, I mean, if you're not sure what these are, just listed is that was what it sounds like. Hey, we just listed this property on 123 Main Street. I wanted to let you know about it. And then we go into our script, right? If
Mhm.
if it's just sold, really similar concept. I just sold this property. This is I really like just sold. I really like just sold because if
Mhm.
you're in a market that has a lot of competition, you
Mhm.
can say we just sold this property on 123 Main Street, Tristan, and we had 3 buyers that couldn't get it, right? And they're very
Mhm.
disappointed. I'm just trying to help them out. I'm trying to help a buyer out. Can you help me? Who do you know that might be thinking of selling, right? And it's a very different conversation than you just asking for something. You're asking
Mhm.
for help to help somebody else. And that just
Mhm.
kind of changes the game for folks, right? I love that. There's another one. We have a buyer. So if you're in that case, I just mentioned pick a property. And if you
Mhm.
don't have one, pick an area. And I would pick an area where if you open up your CRM, you've got 2 dozen people looking in that area that have safe searches there or that have looked at properties there, right? Because now you can talk, you can make that call and say, Tristan, I'm canvassing the neighborhood because guess what? I've got 5 people looking for homes in this zip code, in this neighborhood, in this subdivision, whatever it is, right? I've got 5 people that are looking for homes here, and I need more homes on the market. Who do you
Yep.
know that I should know, right? That's a powerful script. That's a really interesting statement.
Can I add something here,
Go for
Gus?
it. Go for it.
First of all, I agree 100%. And I'll tell you really quick how we've had success with the just listed and just sold. To
Go
us,
for it.
it's been the secret, by the way, massive secret, um, where if you don't have a listing or you don't have something that's sold recently, but your brokerage does, right? And you've talked to your broker, everything's okay and lines up. The secret has been if you can do either one of those calls on day zero of it happening, so just listed day zero, usually means there's not even a sign. And if there is a sign, neighbors haven't seen it. And then the same thing on just sold day zero. Those calls, now all of a sudden, it's less of a nuisance and more information that they love and need in the neighborhood. Because if
100%.
I'm calling Gus, hey Gus, it's it's Tristan. Listen, I'm a real estate agent in the area. I'm just calling to let you know that your neighbor just listed his home literally today. You may not have seen it because there's no sign, and I'm letting all the neighbors know. It's listed for 600,000. And listen, we're probably gonna have an open house, so I'll probably call you then. But if you know anybody in the meantime that is interested in living in the neighborhood, and then I can go through that. But the day zero has been so important for us on both.
Love it.
And people start talking because they're like, oh, it's information I don't know. Binky.
I love that. And and it's one of those things where you want to maximize the exposure that a listing gives you, right? Because a lot of people, well, I actually don't get this question very often. I wish I did. How can I turn one transaction, one listing into more transactions for my team, right? And you just described how you do that. Because some people think, hey, I had actually this just happened in Lab Code Agents. This was a few weeks ago. Was it
Tell me.
Ron that said, hey, I'm what am I doing wrong, guys? He said, I get a bunch of listings and I never get any other transactions from it. That's what his question was. Hey, what am I doing? Is it like a social
Yeah, it
media
was.
thing? Is it
That was
something
Lab
else?
Code Agents.
It was like I think it was Ron. It was a great, contributor. He was saying, "Hey, what am I doing wrong?" And that's a very vulnerable question. He's opened himself to like criticism and
Great
everything. So,
question.
so
Yeah.
a lot of courage. A lot of courage. Said, "Hey, what am I getting wrong?" Because he's a very successful agent. He goes, "But I'm not getting these extra deals." And that's how you do it. You take the listing and you take every opportunity you can to get it in front of people and start a conversation with buyers and sellers, both buyers and sellers. Okay. And you could do that and I threw out my best suggestions, everything from single property ads on Meta, which are amazing, single property ads you might not include the price there. Oops, forgot. Ask me a question about it. Start a conversation with me about it. You want to put it on everything from Marketplace and the Facebook groups. Online can help. But the one that really gets you, talking to potential sellers and buyers is going to be making the calls around it, like you just described. That day zero is a great tip. Like day zero, you're going to surprise people saying, "What? What is that about?" Right? People
Yep.
always want to know about those kind of things. We just like to know about those things, right? And then door knocking, which again might not be the sexiest, the tech savvy version of this. Every single time we'd have an open house on my team, we would call the neighborhood, we'd door knock the morning of, right? And then we'd send, 1,000 postcards like around that area, right? To just let them know,
Nice.
hey, open house. And again, were those people going to attend the open house? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, that wasn't the goal. The goal was to start a conversation with them, not about the open house, about their needs. That is the goal. That's the game. Start a conversation with a potential buyer and a potential seller. And here's the kicker. Here's a crate, and we'll get into when we talk about objection handling. I'll talk about this more. But
Mm-hmm.
even if they're not interested in buying or selling, Tristan,
Mm-hmm.
they might get a great impression of you. That's a huge win. That you've won already. Even
Well,
if they're not going to buy, even if they're not
dude.
going to sell, if they meet you and see how awesome you are,
Yeah.
that in and of itself is a huge win.
The great impression also, Gus, that you've outlined here is because it's not just one of these that you're doing, it's all four of them, possibly.
100%.
Because if I'm calling you just listed day zero, right? I'm calling you now. Hey, I'm up. Remember I said I was going to call you, Gus, just letting the neighborhood know that I'm having an open house. Call number two. Hey, Gus, just want to let you know we're finally under contract, right? It only took what, 60 days. Or you know what? We went under contract much quicker, right? It only took 7 days, but we're letting everybody know just in case, because we also have buyers that came through. They wanted a property like this and now it's gone. If you know anybody, might go through that whole thing. And then lastly is it's sold, right? It's sold. Here's the sold price. And now at that point, Gus, you're like, wow, this guy's all over this neighborhood, but really it's only been one property, right?
Yeah,
So
100%.
that's
I,
that
I,
point that you're
I
making.
remember I knocked on this door, right? Because we called them. We didn't have a conversation over the phone. I remember knocking on their door. And then by the time I went there, because I knocked the door again, not when it sold, when it went pending. Gentleman sold, right? The friendly, friendly sold. It went pending. And they said, you know what, come on in. They had my postcard on their kitchen table. He goes, hey, we're thinking of selling, we should have a conversation about that. When's a good time? Because they saw what I did, right? I taped a flyer to their door the time they weren't there. They got my postcard. They're like, hey, this guy and his team, they got my call. They didn't answer, but they got my call, right? And like this guy's really hustling. Holy cow. Like I didn't know agents had to work this hard to get business. Like I want a person like that, working for me, right? Because maybe the other agents, they're just gonna post it to Zillow and hope for the best, right? That's what those are the other agents. Like we're gonna hustle and gonna try and work hard for you and get the best offer for your property. Let's have a conversation because I want an agent like that, right? And this is a person that knew a lot of real estate agents. They knew other agents, okay? But they didn't knock on their door. and they didn't see him working that hard. And that's what you want. Okay. So, really important. All of these, if you can combine some of these, even better, right? I had people like, hey, they knew me by the third time I was in the neighborhood. They knew who I was. Like, hey, I'm not ready yet, but hey, man, go for it. Good luck to you, right? And then I'd see the guy with the, Seahawks flag on his yawn. Hey, go Hawks, right? And we know each other by then, right? Because you're not knocking on 1,000 doors, maybe 30 doors, 50 doors. That's what I mean. It's enough people for you to remember them, then they remember you, right? It's not that hard. And that's where it starts. I'm going to give you guys an example. This is my personal favorite, the just sold script. But you don't have to take a screenshot. No, I'm going to send this to you at the end. I'll give you instructions on how to get this and the other ones as well, not just the just sold script. It's all a slightly different introduction to the exact same script. Slightly different intro. Okay. This is what the intro looks like. Hey, is this Tristan? Great. This is Gus with ABC Realty. I'm calling today because we just sold a home at 123 Main Street, and give them some details, right? It sold within 2 days. It sold within a week. We had multiple offers. It sold in only these many days. And guess what? There were 5 buyers that missed out and weren't able to get the home. So I'm trying to find more properties to get them on the market and help out these buyers, right? Do you know anyone that might be thinking of relocating in the next year, in the next 6 to 12 months, right? And then just shut up and listen. That's it. That's the game, right? Like hold back and let's see what they say. And if they don't know, most people are not going to know anybody. Great. Okay. And then the script kind of branches off from that. Do you currently own or do you, well, oh, no, never. Well, let me ask you. If they still say no, great. Let me ask you, do you currently own or are you renting a home? Right. That's where the script kind of branches off into. If they're renting, you have a choice to make. Do you want to have a conversation with a potential buyer? I'd say you've got them on the phone, have the conversation, right? Like, why not? If they own a home, then you get a chance to show some curiosity and go, well, I mean, you're owning a home. Have you ever thought of getting something a little bit larger, a little bit maybe downsizing? Have you ever thought of maybe relocating somewhere else? Has that thought ever crossed your mind, Tristan? I'm just curious about that, right? And once you get to that third level, they've either already hung up on you. Don't worry, that's your next call, right? Or there's something there. If they have not hung up on you and haven't shot you down, there's a conversation to be had, right? This is what I teach my ISAs. It is a lot easier to just hang up on you guys. If they haven't done that, let's see. They got something they want to tell you, but they're waiting for you to ask the right question. Let's see. Let's go down this conversation with them and let's see what it is they want. It's going to be them or someone they know or someone near them, right? What is the conversation to have? And that's really it. That's it. Just listening to that. The key elements of this script is number one, you have to have the right mindset. I always approach this script with a mindset of service. Okay. I'm there to be of service. I'm calling on behalf of my clients. I'm calling out to see what their needs are. Put yourself in that service mindset. It's a very different mindset that you have to have when you're calling expired and FSBO. With expired and FSBO, you got to put on your armor and you got to take the body blows, and then then the approach is the same. You gotta hang with the punches a little bit, and then you're able to kind of be of service. But this one is service first. Like that's it. I'm making this call to help my buyers, to help the market, to help you as a seller. I'm here to help, right? That's the mindset. And the number one factor of success for this script is your ability to build rapport with someone you don't know. Okay. And that's a word, Tristan. It's a fancy word. I don't like the word actually. Rapport. Well, how do I build rapport? I like to break it down to 2 things. Listen to what they say and how they say it, and always demonstrate genuine curiosity. That, in my opinion, that's the way you build rapport. You're actually listening to what they're saying and you're approaching it with genuine curiosity. Because even if they say, oh, I'm not interested in selling, you're asking the question, oh, well, let me ask you one more question. Do you currently own or do you rent this home when you're living in? Oh, well, I own it. Okay. I mean, I'm just out of curiosity. Have you ever thought of doing this or doing that, right? Downsizing. Oh, well, I have, but not right now. Okay, let's go. Let's talk about that. They're still saying no, but they gave it a qualifier. Yeah, not at the moment. Perfect. No one makes decisions off the bat on the first call. Like, not that's normal. Tell me more about that. What's holding you back from making a move? Oh, well, I need my, kids to get out of school. It's the last year. My daughter's going off to college, and I might want to move into that college town. Like, oh my goodness, helicopter parent. I love it. Let's have a conversation about that, right? What are their needs? What is their goal? How can you get them to the goal? Listen, you got to listen and show that genuine curiosity. And that's really what it takes to be successful with the script. That's it. Most real estate agents, I don't know what you think, Tristan, have that. Like we're naturally interested in people, right? We wouldn't be in this business if we didn't like talking to people. Most of us, right? That's it. Can you have a conversation with someone? Can you hold it? And can you show genuine interest, right? You want to mirror their energy and their tone. You don't want to be super cheery and upbeat. If they're, like lower tone, they talk slowly. You don't want to go too hard on them. You don't want to go too slow on them. And the most important thing, guys, like I mentioned with Tristan at the beginning, repetition. You'll get better at this. If you make these calls for one day, you'll be better, like measurably better within a couple of hours, because that's how easy this script is to learn. Oh, Tristan, you're unmuted, man.
Two things I want to add for you here.
Go for it. Go for it.
One is Andy says on circle prospecting, typically, what is the breakdown of 1,000 homes? That's the question number one for you. Go ahead.
Great. So let's say you want to pull 1,000. I'll talk about the data in a second. You want to pull 1,000 of those numbers. If you're going to call them on your own, it'll probably take you about 3 or 4 days, right? So you'll probably, if you're sitting down for 2 hours, you can bust out a couple hundred calls because not everyone's going to pick up. And if you're on let's say you're on a Mojo, maybe like a 2-line dialer. I don't recommend the super high 3, 4, 5-line dialers for these kinds of calls. Usually a 2-line dialer in this day and age, 2025, is kind of all that you need. Your goal out of those 1,000 numbers you pulled is have a conversation with 50 to 100 of those people. That is a good number, okay? 50 to 100 of those people, okay? A skilled agent that has done this before, skilled by mean like you're a weekend, is what I mean by skilled, you can generate probably 5 potential seller leads from that call-in session. 5. If you're good, you can get 10 potential sellers. Like, Gus, how can that happen? Because this is America. And in America, and this year, 2025, 1 out of every 8 adults in the country is going to be party to a real estate transaction. Okay. And I can run the math for you on that, but just trust me on it. Don't just go with that flow. 1 out of every 8 adults is going to be party to a real estate transaction. I'm not asking you to get 1 out of 8. I think 1 out of 20 is really good. If you have 20 conversations with 20 adults, you might get 1 to admit they're going to be party to a real estate transaction in the next year. Not immediately, but in the next year. Okay. That's the goal. 1,000 to 100 to 5 really solid seller leads. They're going to sell in the next year. The only question is, are they going to sell with you? Okay. That's it. Out of those, here's some even funner math. Out of those 1,000 people, right? More than 5 are going to sell. It's just that you're going to get 5 to tell you that they're going to sell. At least give you that inclination. Does that make sense? So great question. I'm going to break that down in a sec, but that's a really good question. That's what you're shooting for. And if you have more practice, you're going to get more than 5. You'll get more than that, right? You can get way more, but out of 100 conversations, 5 is a good outcome. Okay, an ISA can achieve that. Like if you hire someone, they can generate that for you.
Next question. Paul, have I missed it or will we talk about the DNC list?
Oh, 100%. So we'll talk about the data providers. You should use a data provider because they protect you against compliance, right? So I'll talk about it. Actually, let's jump in and talk about it. I've got that. Well, I'll jump in real quick. So to get started, like I said, select that property, desirable neighborhood, get a dialer data combo, right? So RedX, Mojo, Vulcan, all of them have built-in compliance features. They're going to tell you if a number is on the DNC or not, right? So yeah, that could be an issue. In some markets, of those 1,000, 500 are going to be on the DNC, 600 will be on the DNC, 700 will be on the DNC. So to get 1,000 people you can call, you might have to pull 5,000 numbers, right? Do it. No problem with that, right? So in some markets you can get away with just getting 1,200 and you get 1,000. In some markets it might be 5,000 to get 1,000. Be compliant. It's easy as that. And if you're not going to be compliant, circle prospecting can be risky for you guys. I'll just be very honest with you. Calling the wide general population on DNC
Mhm.
is probably the riskiest thing you can do. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say. The warning for the people that are going to ignore the DNC. I've ignored the DNC early in my career. I would make these calls without doing the DNC. I paid out 2 demand letters for $1,000 each. Okay, I said you got me. Like caught me red-handed. Yeah, and these guys are pros, right? Pros, professional litigators. They're waiting for your call. So don't call
Yep.
those guys, right? And you
Don't
can
do it.
actually do actually I think these services have litigator scrubs too. You can that's it. I should have at least done that. Like scrub the known litigators at least, right? But the DNC scrub would have done both. So you guys can kind of pick and choose what you want to do. But just know that there's people that are waiting for your call to send you a letter saying, "Hey Gus, I got you. At this time, you called me, and I'm on the DNC. So where's my money? I paid
And
out. That's
you
just
know
being
what,
real with
man?
you guys.
Let me just show people this really quick just so they could see it. Young, who's in the background, you're the one who edits the videos. I'm going to show information. So make sure when you are editing this video, it doesn't show this because you know how YouTube knocks it down. So
Oh, I
YouTube
got
does
you.
not like to see phone numbers of people. So make sure you blur these out. But let's go to geo leads. I'm going to go to the very first one I see. This is my area that I cover. This is Malibu. You can see here on the left, I'm going to zoom in. You have
Oh,
all the
let me
phone
stop
numbers.
sharing. I'm sharing my screen, Tristan.
Oh,
I think there we go. You share yours.
all right. Tell me. Hold on. Let me try again. Here we go. Let's go back. Tell me if you can see it, Gus. Give me a thumbs up. Perfect. All right. This is the list right here. Geo leads, right? And then these are all the numbers and people. I clicked on Elisa. She's in Malibu. And then on the left, she's part of my mailing list. So that's why I have her here, Gus. But on the left, you can see typically how it works is the very first one is going to be the best number, hands down, always in Red X and whatever you use. Then as you go down the line, they get worse and worse and worse and worse. But in this case, we got lucky because the bottom, what is this, 6 are all DNC. It's telling you right there, do not call. Just skip them.
100%.
You can turn on the dialer automatically. And once you turn on the dialer right here, when you click more or on the right, and it sets it up, it says, hey, do you want to call the DNC? The answer is always no, don't call the DNC. And if you need Red X after you sign up with Gus so that Gus's team can call on Red X for you, great, do that.
100%. And Red X probably has the best product out there for geo leads, just so you guys know, right? The most reasonably priced, and they're a dialer data combo, so they're great. They also happen to be a partner with LCA, which is always a plus, right? So you get a special
Yep.
deal with them. Mention you're coming from lab coats, they'll probably help you out, right? So that's a great way to do it. But use the tools. Don't do this on your own. Don't go to there's a whole regulation, government website, you can download the numbers, filter them your own. Don't do that. Very error prone. Don't do it. Just get a vendor, do it quickly, do it compliantly, and you guys will be happier for it. So let's go. We got 6 minutes left. Let's rock and roll. So main objections. These are the typical main objections. Wrong number, not the owner. I don't live there. It doesn't matter. And so when my guy says with this, I got these calls too. Like, hey, I would call Seattle. Oh, I'm not living in Seattle anymore. I'm in Hawaii. I had a 30-minute conversation with someone in Hawaii, and they ended up sending me a referral in Seattle. Okay. Because we just hit it off. We had a good conversation. They were curious about the property. They were renting their home in Seattle. They had some questions. I helped them out. They had questions about like tenants and issues. We had a great conversation about that. I've been to Hawaii, right? They were living on the Big Island. I've been to Oahu. We just talked, had a great conversation. I added some value where I could under property management questions. They sent me a referral that year. Okay. That's a win. Who cares if they're not in the area anymore, right? There's someone you can make a connection to add some value to. You never know what's going to happen with these folks. I'd say have the conversation regardless. If they're not in that home you wanted them to be, if they're not in the state you wanted them to be, have a conversation with a potential buyer or seller. Have the conversation. And there's more objections. You'll get them on the objection handling sheet they're going to send out. I won't go into too more detail on that. Let's go to the next one. We already talked about how to get started. The challenges, here's the challenges of circle prospecting. You have to be able to get at least 20, 30 conversations per day to make this work. If you're not talking, and this is about contact rate, okay? If you're not able to talk to 20 to 30 people a day, it's going to be really hard to get results from this, right? So that is the key metric. That's the key metric. And if you don't, and if you're not able to, right, you should talk to us or you should talk to Red X. How can I talk to more people? And you'll have, usually it takes a little bit of tweaking, but you got to be able to talk to 20, 30 people per day. Otherwise, it's hard to get results. You're generating nurture. So people, oh, Gus, what about, you said about 3,000 appointments. All of those appointments started as nurtures, every single one. At our peak, we were making 50,000 calls a day for sure. That's how we started the company with circle prospecting. 50,000 calls, about 100 to 200 nurtures a day for my team, 5 to 10 appointments set per day. Not on the first call. Let me just be really clear about that. We would generate the nurture, and over the next few weeks, over the next few months, we would generate the appointment. We had it down to a science. It would take about 20 to 25 seller nurtures to get one booked appointment over 12 months. Just being really honest with you guys, over 12 months. Those add up. We were doing 10 to 20 a day appointments, listing appointments. Okay. 10
That's
to 20 a day.
crazy, dude.
That adds up quick. That adds up quickly, right? Again, large team. That's what we were able to do. But it wasn't from calling expired and for sale by owner, right? I just want to be really clear from that. You let this cook, you give it some scale, and you're having great conversations. And for a lot of folks, Tristan, you just showed me a list that had 700 numbers you could dial, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Gus, I'm not able to get 1,000. I get 700. Call the 700, right? Call the 700. Have 70 conversations instead of 100, right? Have those conversations, and if you can get one or two seller leads on that list, that's great. Because I wouldn't mind having one or two in Malibu, right? Maybe get a smaller list there. Oh, boo-hoo. That's still
I'll
worth the
take two.
trouble, right? So I'll take a couple. Take a couple, right? Follow-up game needs to be on point. The follow-up with these leads. Guys, you're getting qualified seller leads, okay? Like confirmed homeowner, confirmed contact information, desire, and curiosity to sell. That is a qualified seller lead, qualified nurture. You got to get those to the appointment, right? That takes follow-up, and it takes attention, and it takes adding value, right? You might think you were going to run out of numbers. You might think that actually. So my team, when I had a training team, this is a smaller team, at any given time was 5 to 15 people calling. We called the entire state of Washington. That's where I was based. It took us like 2 years to call every single number, not DNC, in the state of Washington, okay? Every single number. What did we do at the end of 2 years? We went back to the beginning and start over again. That's what we did. Because 2 years later, you think that data is going to be the same? Of course, it's not going to be the same. People move, people leave, people pass away, people get married, people get divorced, people have kids. Kids turn 18. 2 years is a long time. Start again from the beginning and start over. Okay. Like I said, 90% of those people on that list are not going to talk to you the first time. 90% are not going to talk to you. So 2 years later, yeah, you can call the list again, pull it again, get fresh data, and call the whole area again. Okay. You don't really run out of numbers. That's not a real thing. Not with Circle. The only biggest drawback is it takes a lot of time. It does take time. Like this is more time intensive than FSBO and expired. It absolutely is. It takes more time, more conversations to get results, right? They're easier conversations, but it takes more time. That's where an ISA can help. So a lot of agents that want to enhance their business, they're doing Facebook, they're doing online leads. They don't want to do expired and FSBO. They hire an ISA to help them do Circle on their listings. Had an agent come in. She had 9 to 10 active listings all the time. 9 to 10 active listings all the time. You know how many times she called around that? Never called around it. Like never at all. Hired an ISA. Within 60 days, she had 40 seller leads just from her own listings. Okay. She didn't have to go out and buy them and pay Google and pay Facebook. From her own, just calling around her own listings, she had over 40 seller leads within 60 days. Pretty good turnaround, right?
I mean,
and even if
dude,
she didn't have those listings, you could get those results. Yeah.
the challenging part is that we just don't do this whole process. But when we add and layer it to everything else that we're doing, it becomes amazing. I wanted to touch on one thing that keeps on getting brought up. It's the DNC, the do not call
Yeah.
list. Um, let's just pretend you don't know what it is and you're saying do not call. You're just reading it and it says do not call. That's what it is. Don't freaking call. That's it. It's how easy it is.
St-
Don't get it confused. Never call it.
Easy
I
peasy.
don't care who tells you to call it. I don't care if your coach told you. I don't care if your mom told you. I don't care who tells you to call them. You are not calling them. There are so many lawsuits on that right now that are being settled, millions of dollars. You don't want to go through a lawsuit like that. Don't call them. Don't be an idiot. There you go. Gus.
100%. And guys, we've done this. Actually, the most restrictive DNC that we've is in Canada, right? For a lot of reasons, Canada's Canada. Calgary, Alberta. Okay, we have done circle prospecting in Calgary, Alberta. What's the challenge there? Like 90% of people are on the DNC, and their DNC is a lot harder core than the US. I don't want to get into detail why, but it is. You know what we did? They had a team. They had one ISA full time, Tristan, full time. I think there's like a couple, it's like 1 million or 2 million people in Calgary, right? They had a list of 37,000 numbers that were compliant to call, weren't on DNC, open to call. They had one full time person that all they did on a single line dialer, they would just call through that list. 37,000 numbers, 95% DNC opt in rate. It was still worth it for them to call because they could have conversations every single day, right? I love that story. Calgary, Alberta, one of the most restrictive parts of Canada. I don't even know why parts of Canada. And the guy's like, it is prohibited to call anyone that isn't on this list because we're going to get in trouble. You can only call these 37,000 numbers. Some pretty good numbers. That's a pretty good percentage of people. It's going to take you a very long time to turn that list around, right? And it was still worth it for them to make the call because we've done Circle in Calgary, Circle in Toronto. You cannot find more restrictive DNC rules than in those areas. And they still call, okay? They still call because they can have conversations and they can add value. Yeah, it takes a wider area because you got to get enough numbers. True. Who cares? Be compliant and have the conversation. It's not or. Be compliant and have conversations with buyers and sellers. All right, finishing things up, last minute. We're a couple of minutes over. Here's like all different case studies of people putting this into practice. They're getting great results from this. Qualified 5 per week. This is from Carlos Antonio, 2 listings a month. Within 6 months, he was getting 2 listings a month. This is James Mitchener, a million. So this guy's like an expired and FSBO master. The only calls he liked to make were circle prospecting calls, like the ones he enjoyed making, right? Like that, because he like the other one's really hard. These are like having a conversation with his neighbor. Like they feel like that. So James is great. Talks a lot about Circle Prospect. And this is Jonathan, 7 transactions in 4 months. He started doing Circle Prospect. This is on his own, not an ISA, on his own. In 4 months, he started to get his first few listings, right? Boom, boom, boom. And it just snowballed from there. We're in the time of year, we're making calls. If you're talking to buyers and sellers in the spring of 2025, now's the time to do it. You can hit some home runs if you're calling right now because people are going to be listing very soon, right? If they're not on the market already. So make the call, have the conversation. As always, you have a free bonus. We have a special offer for you guys with PowerISA. And also, if you want a copy of this slide deck and my scripts for every scenario we just talked about and the objection handler sheet for all of them, send an email to info@PowerISA. Please include in the subject line 3K seller script. 3K seller script, and we'll make sure you guys get sent a copy of everything. We're done. That's it, guys.
All right. How do we get this? What's the email address? Where do we go?
Oh, info at
Info.
powerisa.com. Info at
Let me,
powerisa.com.
I'm going to
That's
do
the way to
this
do
right
it.
now. Info@powerisa.com. What do you want on the subject line?
3K seller script.
Okay, seller scripts. And then that's it. Nothing in the body.
Nothing. You can leave the
All
rest
right.
blank, or you can say a nice thank you message. It's fine. We'll still send you the information.
But thank you, Gus. All right. I just sent it. I am going to, I want them because I'm going to go through the scripts a little bit. And I'll probably do a
Love it.
podcast on this, Gus, and I'll reference it as
I
well.
love it. I love it. I love it. Awesome.
All right.
Thanks, Tristan.
Questions, guys, questions, comments, concerns, additions. Just a reminder, don't call a DNC. Easy, right? That was so easy. Don't call.
Easy peasy.
Uh, Anna, I want the scripts. Anna, you will get the scripts. Just put that into your email. Samantha, what are you using for a CMA, Gus? If somebody says, yeah, look, I want to know what my home is worth, what are you using?
Oh, when I made these calls and I got those requests, I would just use the MLS. I'm not, like super cloud CMA, super awesome. I would just bring some comps and give them an estimate. But I will always tell them, I'm going to give a ballpark. I got to go see the property first, right? So that would be kind of my foot in the door and have a conversation with them. And then I would do a two-step listing process. I go meet with them with the property, build rapport, and then my recommendation would come after, like in the second meeting. Because like, how can I give you a price recommendation without in the home? And they kind of go into it that approach.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I like that, dude. And you mentioned Cloud CMA and what else? Just in case they do
I
need
would
them.
just the tools off of my MLS matrix, off of the CMA tool matrix. I didn't. That was what I use 90% of the time. Just the matrix tool.
Wait,
For you guys, might be CoreLogic, Matrix, whatever you use for
might be
built-in
RPR
MLS.
too. Look, if
Yeah,
you've got
RPR,
RPR, use it. Yeah, super
RPR,
good.
whatever built-in tool guy you're already paying for, that's what I would use. Because again, the goal wasn't to show a really fancy-looking CMA. The goal was to get in the door, look at the property, and build rapport with them face to face, and then
That's it.
I'd show them that.
Yeah, Samantha says RPR looks like a DMV report.
It does look like the absolute Matrix too. They all look like DMV reports, right?
Oh,
100%. The value isn't in the. I mean, in my opinion, is not how awesome it looks. It is your expertise behind it, right? 100%.
yeah.
Like that tool, it looks more official. It looks more like it came from the government or something, right? It looks
I
a little bit
mean,
more technical.
Samantha,
It's all in the presentation.
if you've got Lofty as a CRM, they have a really beautiful CMA report, but it's also not free. It's like you have to pay for a certain amount. So you can check them out. Also check out House Canary. That's actually very good as well. But Samantha says MoxieWorks has the best CMA. They do. They have a good one. They have a good one. I would say that one is compared to Lofty from one we used, and then House Canary for us has been the best one. Caroline's asking you, Gus, what is your nurturing process?
Oh, okay. Man, I didn't even get into that. So that's I guess that's the other presentation. But like the 10-second version is if you don't have a great reason to reach out to them, you're at least making a call, connecting with them once a month, every 30 days, the whole list,
Got
everyone
it.
you've got in your nurturing process. If you have any kind of a signal or any kind of a comment that warrants more frequent follow-up, like if they're like 90 days out, that's a now lead. You're calling that every week, once a week, maybe twice a week to like provide some value, give them some information, tell them, hey, I'd love to go take a look at the property to tell you what I would list it for. My listing recommendation. When's the time to do that? Oh, I need to get some work done. Even better, I can suggest what the best work to do to get the
Mm,
most out of your money is. And even if you're listing 6 months from now, doesn't matter. That information is pretty valuable now, isn't it? Well, yeah, it is. Great. Like I'm trying to add value no matter what stage they're in, because let's be honest, they might not be 100% transparent with you, right? They might not be telling you the exact amount of time they're waiting. So I always err on the side of meeting them as soon as I can, as soon as possible. Gus, I'm moving in a year. Great. I can give you some great suggestions on what to improve in the property, what to change, so you're ready in a year. I always erred on the side of meeting them, like getting face to face as soon as possible, because I really believe that in our statistic, 60-70% of people will work with the first agent they meet, not the one that texts them first or calls them
mm,
first. The
good
first
point.
agent they meet with face to face, right? That is a really true. I found that to be a really true statistic.
That's very true. And then if you all don't want to make calls, right? This is why Gus is here. This is why we have him, right?
That's why we exist.
Uh,
Power ISA. I would say, Tristan, the job of the ISA, let me go back to this slide, is to make 500 calls so you can make one or two calls, right? So I don't think the ISA doesn't, stop you from making calls, but they add leverage, right? They add that leverage lead generation. You're nurturing a group of 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 people because your ISA made 10,000 calls to get you those 50 people. That's how I look at it, right? You want to
yeah.
make the 10,000 calls? Why not? Can you make 50 calls? You probably can, okay, in a month. I'm talking about every month. Can you make 50 calls in a month? Probably can, right? Your ISA had to make 10,000 calls to generate
Yeah.
that list of
That's a
50
big
people.
difference.
Right? It's a pretty good ROI, right? On your time, on your time.
Yeah. That's very true. So that's the other piece that I love about you, man. You're not only calling these for us, but you're calling our database. And that to
Oh yeah,
me is extremely important. I know it's a whole different session,
100%.
but calling
Yeah,
my
that's what
database,
we should do. Next one should be our
massive.
rekindling. We should do reactivation rekindling with an ISA. That should be the topic of the next one because that's a whole other topic, and it's a very profitable one for people that already have the leads, already have the massive database. That's what you should be focusing on, getting the most out of your existing database.
Agreed. Agreed. All right, Gus, thank you so much. Any questions you all have? info@powerisa.com. You'll also get the slides, which I just sent out an email, Gus. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for being on. And remember, don't call the do not call. If you do hire Power ISA, they will not call those for you. Isn't that great? You don't have to worry about it. Gus, thanks, buddy.